about, holy, like a month ago now? It's only been a month. It's been a month since then. Anyway, about a month, give or take a week ago, I uploaded my first video as a VTuber to this channel, a video reviewing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. In the intro of that video, I drew attention to how the Pokemon IP was in an odd state at the moment, and what was happening was largely expected by the fanbase. We knew that Sinnoh remakes were coming going into the February 26th Pokemon Direct, but we absolutely did not expect a potential new spin-off IP. I am of course referring to Pokémon Legends Arceus. Needless to say, the Pokemon fandom was shocked beyond shocked. Game Freak themselves were developing something that looked to be a Pokemon of the Wild, to risk beating a dead horse with that analogy, that many were under the impression would be a bold, new direction for the series to adopt. I, myself, was caught in the hype completely. I'd been pretty satisfied with the offerings of Sword and Shield myself, but found that we could just go that little bit farther, whether that be movement options, ride Pokemon, or a new catching system. Now, when Game Freak reveals was, at least from the initial reveal, Sword and Shield's wild area expanded significantly further in early 1900s Sinnoh with a new catching system, I was immediately on board. I needed to play this game. In the months between reveal and release, we saw several new trailers that would almost only serve to feed my hype. Pokemon would attack you, you had to run away from them, and you could dodge. You could battling was a last resort kind of thing. And there was a setting in the past that opened a ton of doors for a bunch of different cool lore experiences, and all in all, I was just saying yes, please, give me more. I want more. Please give me more of this delightful looking game. The main issue that people had on reveal and going into the release of the game was that it didn't really look very good in terms of graphics, obviously. This is the trailer playing in the background that a lot of people have agreed had the best visual presentation. This is from September of the year prior, so September 2021 this trailer came out, and kind of take that how you will, because it doesn't really look perfect per se here, but it is probably the closest to the actual release. Regardless though, we wouldn't really be able to make a full proper conclusion until the game came out in full, so moving on. Come January 28th, 2022, I was not yet playing the game, as Amazon didn't send me my copy until the Monday after release. So, come January 31st, 2022, I was finally able to tear into the game and see what was in store for me and everyone else. Did I like it? Was it worth the hype? Or was it a total failure that they should never ever do again? All this and more in today's review of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus takes place in the Hisui region, which is Sinnoh, roughly 40 years after the beginning of Japanese occupation of Hokkaido in the Meiji era, so approximately the early 20th century. The game follows you, a lookalike of Lucas or Dawn, who has been, quote, teleported to another world with my smartphone and now has to figure out how to get home, gain the trust of those near them, and solve an ancient theological conflict between the native cultures of Hisui. Easy shit, really. Just, who doesn't do that every single day? Taking place in the past allows for plenty of interesting questions about speciation in the Pokemon universe, as well as how Hisui developed into the Sinnoh that we know today. Hisui is an interesting backdrop that provides a great lore reason for the core gameplay loop of Pokemon Legends Arceus. In PLA, you don't randomly encounter Pokemon, nor do you even have to fight them 90% of the time. Instead, the player is encouraged to use creative Pokeballs, items, and terrain advantages to stalk and catch the Pokemon they're interested in finding. The reason for this shift away from battling is justified by most Pokemon straight up attacking you on sight. A lot of the game is spent running away and trying not to get seen by Pokemon. This change reflects the wild nature of Hisui, and it's honestly super fun. Rather than obey the typical enter fight, hit it until it's low, sleep it, throw balls, typical catching method of the mainline series, you can devise a different strategy for pretty much every Pokemon, as every Pokemon will be surrounded by different varied landscapes, Pokemon, and hazards. Additionally, if you really want to, you can catch Pokemon the old-fashioned way, but it just may not go how you want. In Pokémon Legends Arceus, along with a significant overhaul to catching comes a similar overhaul to the battling system. Gone are the 2-move turns of mainline Pokemon, instead choosing to focus on the speed stat as a means to move before your opponent, kinda like D&D in some ways. Additionally, offensive and defensive stats have been combined into exactly that, so moves like Calm Mind, for example, don't just boost your special attack and special defense. Now they boost your attack, your defense, and your special defense. Finally, a means to fine-tune how much damage and how fast you move within the new turn system is put in place. Now, every move after it's been used and mastered can be used as a strong style move or an agile style move. Strong style moves increase the amount of damage you deal with the move, however, you take a lot longer to recharge and be able to move again, so it's kind of a gamble that way. Whereas an agile style move, for example, its main gimmick is that you can move a lot quicker after using it, so theoretically you could use it and then immediately follow it up with another move. However, it does significantly less damage this way. There is no difference in buff/debuff moves despite being available as both strong and agile style moves. The addition of strong and agile style moves is handsomely complemented by the new system that Pokemon learn moves in. As Pokemon grow, they learn moves, and you, instead of losing them forever after forgetting them, can pick and choose what moves you want to use on each Pokemon, but you are still limited to 4 at a time. Another change to the way Pokemon interact with each other, pretty much every move in this game hits like a truck. You'll basically never find yourself living through more than 5 attacks, almost regardless of type matchup. I think that this was likely done in an attempt to push players to attempt to catch Pokemon without the use of their party, and in this way it largely succeeds, but it removes a lot of the edge in battles with trainers, and the nerfing of tank playstyles definitely hurts the viability of a few Pokemon, as rushdown tactics with Pokemon like Crobat or Infernape will basically solve all of your problems, because you can just agile style close combat or agile style cross poison, and then that will just win the fight for you. The balancing other than this issue is pretty good all in all, but I don't think that having such a definitive particular meta this early on in this sub-series is a good thing, and I think that in a future game it should absolutely be fixed. About the Pokemon themselves, however, much like the Let's Go games, abilities have been omitted from this release. I can't particularly pinpoint a reason for this change other than attempting to simplify things for potentially new players, as that was the perceived reason they weren't included in Let's Go as well. But here it's a uniquely detrimental change, in my opinion. Abilities act as interesting ways to buff certain Pokemon as well as give them their own identity in battle. Many Pokemon in the Hisui decks have a lot of their viability to owe to their unique or otherwise useful abilities. For example, one of my favorite Pokemon, Toxicroak, has the Water Absorb ability, granting it immunity to water-type attacks, which greatly contributes to its defensive capabilities. A Toxicroak without Water Absorb finds very few opportunities to set up nasty plot or workup into its hard-hitting, sweeping, eccentric attacks, and this is an issue because Toxicroak has a lot of type weaknesses, so being able to set up on water types is a very good thing for it. It is the very definition of a glass cannon. In this game, where setting up is a matter of being able to survive more than 2 attacks at a time, Toxicroak has a very hard time adapting to this, and directly suffers from the lack of abilities. I don't like this change very much at all, and I feel that in a future Legends game, abilities should be added back should the battle system remain largely the same. There is a gameplay workaround to this, and that's to just not use Toxicroak or other Pokemon who suffer from this, but that doesn't really feel like the right answer, does it? I should be able to use the specific mons I love without them collapsing every single fight I put them into, even if by all accounts they should win. However, to the credit of the sentiment to just, quote, not use Toxicroak, the game is very generous with opportunities to catch plenty of new Pokemon and team build to your heart's content. Especially with the inclusion of alpha Pokemon in the overworld to grind from or catch to add to your team, you'll nearly never be at a shortage for alternative options in this game. I kept a single Pokemon on my team for the entire game, and that was my starter Typhlosion. Every other Pokemon would just be on a revolving door. Every other Pokemon I would catch would be on the team until a little after they were fully evolved and then boxed later, so I can make great use of the myriad opportunities that the Hisui region offers to build teams and use new Pokemon. Because of this, I found that I really like Gliscor, and I just hadn't known because I hadn't had the tools to catch one before. But after catching an alpha Gliscor at Mount Coronet, I fell in love with the Pokemon. In this sense, Legends Arceus manages to provide the greatest number of opportunities to come to love individual Pokemon out of basically any game in the series, from hunting them down myself, strategizing how to catch them after learning their behavior, and finally pulling off a clean catch. I felt that before I'd even caught the Pokemon, I was building a relationship with it. I inhabited the same space as the Pokemon. There was no arbitrary tall grass to keep me from studying the Pokemon. This, I feel, is one of Legends Arceus' greatest strengths. The connection you feel when you catch one of your favorite Pokemon, or even just to see one of your favorite Pokemon, is exciting. It's super rewarding. It makes the player want to explore all the nooks and crannies of the world, because who knows what else is out there. It pains me then to say that the exploration and world leave a fair amount to be desired. Outside of very few items scattered around, there aren't very many things that would specifically incentivize a player to trek off the beaten path other than the Pokemon themselves. I didn't climb a mountain because I wanted black tumblestones that were at the top. I climbed a mountain because I wanted to know what Pokemon was at the top. The actual traversal of the world itself, though, can be rather boring after you know where to go to get what you need, but the ride Pokemon in this game largely alleviate this issue. Weirdeer, for example, goes very fast and can be used to remove the player from practically any situation that they don't want to be in. Largely, the world is very interesting to traverse due to Pokemon, but I understand why some people feel turned off by the exploration once they explored enough to know what Pokemon are beyond each corner, because, you know, like, if there's nothing to it, if you've already found your favorite Pokemon, then it's like, okay, like, I get it. Like, it's a world. Pokemon Legends Arceus' presentation is a very much mixed bag, and I'm choosing to split this into 3 subsections because of it. The music in Pokemon Legends Arceus appears a lot less often than I want, but I also appreciate the ambience of the wild, and I think it works really well in this game. However, having one or the other, with one appearing extremely rarely by comparison, seems odd. More often than not, Pokemon Legends Arceus is more or less silent outside of Pokemon sounds, which I think is a great atmosphere. However, occasionally, I haven't quite figured out how to trigger it myself, but music that is reminiscent of the original Sinnoh games will play, and depending on which music plays, the motifs will let you know what area of the world that you're in, that you knew from the 2006 games. My favorite example of this was in the western area of the Obsidian Fieldlands, in which you can find a forest filled with Baneri, Wurmple, and a Lopunny Alpha Pokemon. To some, this is a dead giveaway for Eterna Forest, something I myself remarked upon entering. However, upon hearing the familiar of Eterna Forest I had come to love from my childhood, it was a somewhat emotional experience for me. For the first time as a Pokemon fan, I felt at this moment, this specific moment, that I had been catered to in content based on what I grew up with. I didn't get that in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, because that was basically just the same game, but here, seeing the Sinnoh I knew transformed into something new, something different, something greater, that was pretty damn magical. It's a shame, though, that the music rarely plays, and is extremely sensitive to being cut off by gameplay elements. The music that does exist in the game, I cannot stress enough, it's really, really good, just criminally underutilized. I found that this game had what I consider to be the best 3D models we've seen so far. All the Pokemon modeled in this game are expressive and are complemented well by the environments they exist within. The modeling in this game is honestly the best that many of these Pokemon have looked since the dynamic sprites of Gen 5, however there are extreme pop-in issues with this game, and particularly the Pokemon that you're viewing from the limits of a rendered distance. Pokemon will act in maybe half the native FPS given by the Switch, which is already at a low 30. It's very odd to see Pokemon flying in the air breaking their flying cycle animations due to this, and it actively harms the ambiance of the game somewhat. You don't go and see one of those flying Pokemon and think, whoa, a Staraptor, or whoa, a Gyarados. You think, the hell, the fuck is wrong with that thing? What?
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? A fucking
Gyarados.
Hey, don't fucking look at me like that. That's a weird looking fucking
Gyarados.
Ma! Yo, there's a stray
Gyarados.
outside!
Plain and simple, this game isn't the prettiest. You've heard other people say it, you'll hear me say it. There aren't many locations in this game that can properly convey the majesty of the region that's being portrayed, and the texturing in a lot of places makes the world feel a smidge too much like Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time. It's honestly a shame, considering that the majority of the rest of the visual assets, the character and Pokemon models, the UI, the Pokemon's attack effects, they all look good, but the land itself doesn't. I don't think I need to tell you that this water texture isn't very good, and that this is the water in all but 2 areas. This sort of issue prevails through a lot of the areas themselves. The basic ground is not good at looking enough to be considered interesting. So many areas without distinct landmarks feel like old Gmod maps in a lot of ways, which is, you know, a good thing 15 years ago maybe, but it's unfortunate, really, as I feel like a bit more attention to differentiating these textures and making them just look a little better in the lighting. Like grass and rock textures from one another, if they just made them look a lot more different, made them look a lot more unique, it would really drastically help the visual style of the game overall, and we would not have all of the complaints that we do about the graphics, but alas, this is the product that was shipped, and this is what we have to work with. I found that the basic gameplay of Legends Arceus was really good, and I liked it a lot. However, there were plenty of things that I felt didn't really reach the mark. In particular, I feel that there are things that are left to be desired from the controls and menuing. For example, I feel that the movement in PLA is largely unfit for the terrain. Like, very small hills require a dodge to ascend, and by and large there is just too much terrain that slows you down when you don't need to be slowed down. However, the greatest issue, or greater issue, of jank in PLA is that of menuing. Genuinely very little is intuitively placed, and despite the clear instructions provided to me to change menu tabs, I still found it really difficult to remember. Like when you open the map, for example, it's the minus button. You press the minus button to open the map. What button do you think you use to close the map? More often than not, in open world games or games with a map in general, it's the same button you use to open it. Not in Pokemon Legends Arceus. In this game, you have to press B, which is a completely separate button on a completely separate part of the controller or Joy-Con, in order to close the map. This sounds like nitpicking. I'll admit, it completely sounds like nitpicking, and it sounds like I'm trying to tear apart the game for very little things. But it's just really annoying when you're trying to navigate somewhere. And these little things kind of add up, and it just takes you out of it a little bit. It ruins the immersion in some ways, and that's what I really praise about this game, so anything that is going to interrupt that in some capacity is just kind of a pet peeve for me. The rest of the game also has some pretty significant similar menuing issues that also took way too long to iron out. Adding to the general frustration in the game, there's a series of issues relating to your party and inventory that I felt were unnecessary and easy issues to fix. I genuinely cannot understand why there is a satchel size limit at all, especially considering every other Pokemon game has an endless bag. And you may be thinking, oh, well, Pinch, this isn't every other Pokemon game. This is a cool new, like, this is a whole different vibe. But, like, in this game, you need satchel size because there's a bunch of stuff to pick up constantly. In those games, you pick up a Pokeball once every, like, 5 minutes, and it's like, oh, you got a potion, and then you use it immediately. As opposed to this game, where you pick up stuff, and you may never use it. And then you just keep it in your satchel forever, and then it just sits there until you find a space-time distortion, and then you want to pick up red shards or something. It's like, no, you have no space. And it's like, okay, well, guess I just have to go through the chore of clearing my inventory of various random berries that I could just, or that work just as well as orange berries do. Again, it sounds like I'm nitpicking. It just is not the kind of thing that I think should be in the game. I don't understand why we had to limit the size of the bag. especially considering the way that you actually increase the size of the bag isn't tied to a collectible, and it isn't tied to a quest or anything. It's just go and pay a guy, and then you get more storage space, which is uninteresting, unintuitive, and frankly, if you needed a money sink, just don't give the player that much money. Regarding the side quests, I felt that just about all of them were engaging in their own way, or at least somewhat memorable. However, my main issue with them doesn't come from the way that they're presented or handled. It's just that the requests menu has no way to tell you which of the 5 different areas any given request is in. Instead, it opts to tell you the name of the probably default modeled character who gave you their quest. Like, I'm gonna remember that anyway. So, like, for example, recently I got near the end of the game, I got a quest from a character named Morel. He had appeared before. I did remember his name because he was into like mushrooms or something. I think he had me catch him like a parasect, if I remember correctly. So turns out you get another Blackboard request from him, and he wants you to go to the Alabaster Icelands to go find him. Now, I remembered him, but what if you didn't? What if you just were like, oh, that guy. You don't remember who he is or where he is, so why do you know where he is? It's just that kind of thing that's really odd, that they probably should have added but didn't for some reason. And I found myself repeatedly putting these quests off just because I didn't want to go hunt the person down. More often than not, these quests are like maybe 2 objectives, but I just couldn't be bothered. I just didn't care enough to find these people. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna finish all of them and everything, but it's just an obtuse and presumptuous thing to put in the game, or to rather omit from the game. Like, every other game with a quest tab has this. Why not this one? Finally, and I think that this could be debated, but I feel that you should have been able to swap your Pokemon from the pastures on the go. I know that there's no lore reason that you should be able to do that, but there's also no lore reason as to why you can do it from the base camp either. So why don't we just full send and make it so that you're able to swap on the fly? This would alleviate tedium, as in order to raise your galaxy rank you have to complete text challenges, and the easiest way to complete enough to have a Pokemon's text listing done is to do the ones that involve using a certain move a few times. It's quite tedious to take one out, go use the move however many times, usually about like 3, maybe 5 minutes of gameplay, and then rinse and repeat for over 200 Pokemon. In a game as devoted to this feature as it is, there should be no involuntary barriers in place to that feature's end goal. Now, I might be nitpicking again, as with the last 3 sections of this video, but I might be nitpicking, but it's just not a very fun thing to have to do, and I feel like in the future, that should be changed. As a general rule, I dislike ending reviews on a negative note, and I've been doing a lot of complaining in these last few minutes, so let's lightning round some things that I do really like. First, I really like being able to just throw out a Pokemon whenever and have a little chat with it. It's really cute, and it goes a long way to establishing those meaningful bonds to individual species of Pokemon that this game in particular is excelling at. Having interactions with your Pokemon is A, super fucking cool, and B, just having an interaction with them in the same loaded instance that you walk around in is a big deal. Pokemon and me and the camping and Sword and Shield were good, but in my opinion, despite all their features, this has them beat. Next, I really like a lot of the character designs in this game. Seeing all the different characters who are ancestors to other characters I come to love is really awesome. And even the characters who are seemingly comparatively unique, I feel are all designed really well. Personally, I am a Diamond Clan fan, but it's genuinely difficult to choose a side in this just because all of the characters are cool in their own right. The story as well, and I won't spoil anything here, is genuinely pretty interesting, albeit a bit dormant for a lot of the game. The main game finale, though, is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed it from start to finish. As a long-term Pokemon fan, I also find it particularly cool about how all the lore-related questions that we can answer now with the help of Legends Arceus. I think that Pokemon definitely needed some form of look into the past, as despite its relatively modern trappings, there are just too many things that I have to wonder how they ended up coming to be, and PLA, I feel, really helped to do that. Pokemon Legends Arceus promised a lot to the fanbase, and I am happy to report that largely, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a success. I feel that the changes made, while in their infancy at current, can be improved upon significantly given enough time, much like how Pokemon Red and Blue are almost wholly different games than Sword and Shield. Excusing shortcomings as growing pains doesn't sit right with me, however, so I'll emphasize that the things innovated that don't work in this game don't just magically work because I know this may be the beginning of something big. Issues with graphics, polish, battling, balance, and quality of life issues absolutely need to be addressed in the future next hypothetical Legends installment, but I firmly believe that this is not only a bold but confident step in a new and interesting direction for the Pokemon series. Pokemon Legends Arceus, despite its glaring faults in several areas, manages to get its main selling points right by making the catching and dex completion feel compelling and varied in gameplay experiences. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that for the first time, Pokemon has truly fulfilled the gotta catch 'em all mantra posited in Gen 1, as in this game it just feels that good to catch and raise Pokemon. There will probably never again be a game that Game Freak releases that I consider perfect, or even phenomenal really, but Pokemon Legends Arceus feels like a strong enough step in the right direction to give me hope that there may come a day that we're living out the exact Pokemon fantasy that has been rumored on playgrounds for years at this point. Since we're at just about the end now, let's recap it a little bit. First off, catching Pokemon feels phenomenal and varied. The battling system has some significant oversights in its balancing. The graphics are not good. There's a fair amount of jank that should have been ironed out before release. Exploration can feel a bit dull on occasion without Pokemon you care about to lighten it up. And there are plenty of obtuse design decisions that are far behind the standards set by more recent open-world games. Now here's the big question, the reason that we watch reviews, the reason you probably clicked on this. Should you play it? Honestly, I can say with a pretty damn high degree of confidence that this game should probably be on your radar if you, at all, like Pokemon. It is the closest thing to the idea of Pokemon presented in the anime, and that alone should incline you to play it. Hello everyone, thank you for coming with me to the end of another video. These are getting a little bit longer each time, and part of me is proud because it means that I can fill out time to make longer videos, and I'm happy about that. However, I know that it's kind of a time commitment to put in and watch one of these videos, so I really hope that the content was good and your amount of time that you spent watching this, you feel like you really got something out of it. I have more fan art from my friend Maxi on Discord. We're talking about how I'm a little weak for chocolate, frankly, so this image came from that, and I'm very happy. Thank you very much, Maxi, for that. 1 week from this video coming out, I'm not sure what's the date, February, I want to say 20-something, I don't know, 22nd maybe, when this is coming out? Regardless, on March 2nd, 2022, 3:30 EST, on twitch.tv/HumanShapedRaccoon will be my streaming debut. It would mean a lot if you came to it. We're going to be going over character lore. I know I've kind of neglected it on the channel a lot, but it would mean a lot if you showed up to support me and to support my future content. And I intend to stream there pretty regularly. Afterward, I think I'll be playing some Elden Ring. I really hope that you come along and you enjoy and support me, but again, just watching is enough for me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Actually, I better see you next Wednesday, twitch.tv/HumanShapedRaccoon, spelled the same way that is on YouTube, okay? 3:30 EST, alright? Come on. Okay, thank you. I love you. Bye.